Good morning, everyone. Just by way of introduction, I'm State Senator Paul Moriarty from the 4th Legislative District. I'm joined here today with Assemblyman Dan Hutchison, Assemblyman Cody Miller, Mayor Dave Mayer of Gloucester Township, Police Chief Dave Harkins, Police Chief of Monroe Township, Ryan Borkowski, and also Councilwoman Helen Albright Troxel and Carolyn Grace. We're here today because earlier this month on this very park, 500 people converged on this park. 500 young people converged on this park for the sole purpose of creating mayhem and violence. It was a mob scene that was out of control, that ruined a family-friendly event that's been going on in this township for years. It taxed our local police department, and it destroyed a wonderful event that so many people enjoy and have enjoyed every year. This kind of malicious mayhem, this kind of flash mob mayhem cannot go unchecked. And so in speaking subsequently to police and mayors in our district, we have decided that we need to help local law enforcement by providing them additional tools to combat this type of behavior if it should happen again. And so we are introducing legislation, a package of legislation that we have introduced this week, and here to discuss the nuts and bolts of that legislation is Assemblyman Dan Hutchison, who is the sponsor in the New Jersey Assembly. Dan?
Thank you, Senator. I am happy to welcome you all here to my hometown of Gloucester Township. But being in this park today reminds me of what took place about 3 weeks ago. Prior to my time in the Assembly, I spent 18 years as a township councilman in Gloucester Township. And during that time, I would tell everybody that the pillar of a community is public safety. I am deeply proud of the police force that we have here in Gloucester Township and the work they do on a day-to-day basis to keep us all safe. I would like to thank Chief Harkins and the great members of the Gloucester Township Police Department for everything that they did on Gloucester Township Day. While I'm disheartened at what happened at this year's Gloucester Township Day, it was still a very successful event. I am proud that with my colleagues, Senator Moriarty and Assemblyman Cody Miller and other stakeholders, we are here to announce measures to hopefully curtail the events and the conduct that took place on that day. Let me be clear, disrupting and dangerous behavior at large-scale community events will not be tolerated in South Jersey. The package of bills we dropped earlier this week take a sensible approach in holding these individuals accountable without draconian measures. 2 of the bills I am sponsoring will work to create a new charge in holding these individuals accountable. We will create a new charge for inciting a public brawl and organizing an event like we saw. Additionally, alongside Senator Paul Moriarty, we have introduced a parental liability bill that would make a parent or guardian who willfully or without regard to the conduct of their children, they can be subject to a fine and even charges. To any of the young people who choose to engage in events like we saw here or on the boardwalks of Wildwood, Ocean City, or at church carnivals in Washington Township, in Monroe Township, you are putting law enforcement in danger. You're putting families in danger, and you're putting yourself in danger. While today is a big step, I know that it is only the beginning, and we're going to get feedback on these bills. I look forward to what we can do to keep our towns safe. Speaking about our next bill in this package is my Assembly colleague, Cody Miller.
Thank you, everyone. I echo a lot of what everyone else has already said. As a volunteer firefighter, I know the importance of proper training. The senator mentioned how what we are seeing that is happening is high tech, and young people are using social media to organize these types of events. I am proud to have sponsored a bill that increases training and some of the tools at their disposal of our local police departments to best handle these events. While these community events provide a fun, family-friendly atmosphere that bring people to town, they oftentimes serve as fundraisers to community causes. For example, the money raised from Gloucester Township Day goes towards Gloucester Township Scholarship Foundation. If towns can no longer host events out of fear of unruly crowds showing up, it will severely hurt the fundraising ability for so many worthwhile organizations. Just this month, Washington Township's high school, Fifth Quarter Club, which helps fund their football program, canceled their annual carnival, which is their largest fundraiser of the year. We are committed to making sure that these events can continue to happen and that you can feel safe attending them. I also want to note this important note. We as legislators can't legislate everything. That is why it is important for children to have a strong family structure at home, whether that be mom and dad, mom and mom, dad and dad, grandmom, grandpop, older brother, older sister. We have to ensure that our children know that their actions have consequences, and that if they want to be productive members of society and enjoy these events, then they can do that without wreaking havoc and causing harm. Additionally, I've been in touch with the police chief in my town of Monroe Township, Chief Burkowski, and I know that I will be working with him very closely moving forward. And recently, they had the St. Mary's Carnival in Monroe Township, and the chief worked with local officials to ensure the safety of that event by taking precautionary measures. We have to continue to do that. We have to continue to work with local law enforcement and community organizations to ensure that these instances do not occur. In addition to this bill package, we are announcing that later this month, our office will be hosting Police Chiefs Roundtable, where we will accept input on this bill package amongst any other issues that police in our district face. We need to understand the challenges that our local police departments are facing, and that's why myself, Senator Moriarty, and Assemblyman Hutchison are committed to hearing what our law enforcement has to say. So I thank you for your time, and we appreciate any feedback from community stakeholders because we're going to be able to resolve this together. With that being said, I would like to call out the Mayor of Gloucester Township, David Mayer, for some remarks.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Good morning. Let me begin by thanking Senator Moriarty, Assemblyman Hutchison, and Assemblyman Miller for their very, very quick action and their response to what I believe is becoming an epidemic of disruption in the state of New Jersey. You know, and I thank them for taking on this matter on a statewide basis. You know, Gloucester Township Day has been in existence for 40 years. This was our 40th Gloucester Township Day. And as the Assemblyman mentioned, it raises money for our scholarship committee, a scholarship committee that awards over $50,000 in scholarships each year to our Gloucester Township seniors. Gloucester Township Day is a family-oriented, community fun day. And this year was no different until juveniles from overwhelmingly outside of Gloucester Township started showing up in mass. What I saw that night was hundreds of unruly, undisciplined, and unparented juveniles whose purpose was to cause havoc and disruption. So today we join, my colleagues and I join with our state legislators in supporting these legislative bills, but we are also announcing changes to our curfew ordinance here in Gloucester Township. Thanks to Councilwoman Helen Albright Troxel and Councilwoman Carolyn Grace, we are amending our curfew ordinance to include the possibility of increased fines of up to $1,000 and the possibility of 90 days of community service for any juvenile found guilty of violating the curfew ordinance. And this is a very big and this also applies to their parents as well. This new amended ordinance gives the judge the discretion to hold both the juvenile and their parents responsible. We feel that this is a responsible approach with real consequences. We also feel that this, combined with the package of bills that were announced today, will go a long way to help prevent any disturbance from happening in the future. I want to again thank our state legislators for their leadership in this matter. I also want to thank our Chief of Police, David Harkins, and the men and women of the Gloucester Township Police, who did a magnificent job in controlling this disorder and showed tremendous patience and diligence in addressing these juveniles. So I thank Chief Harkins and the Gloucester Township Police Department. At this time, I'd like to bring forward Chief David Harkins.
Thank you, sir. Chief, join me.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Assemblyman and Senator and Council women. I've spoke at length about what happened here that night, so I'm not going to really concentrate on that. I can tell you that we're less than a month out from when this incident happened, and I have been in touch with police leaders throughout the region, Camden County, Gloucester County, even I've talked to police chiefs over in Pennsylvania, down the shore, because we're really trying to wrap our head around how to stop this from happening. We have these great events. This event, over 40 years old, Gloucester Township Day. I came to this as when I was a teenager, the very first ones, and so I've worked them and have been very familiar with it. And to see what happened that night, it really was not what Gloucester Township is. Not what South Jersey is. This is not what we're about. These great events are happening all over the place. And I'm really very happy that I'm joined with my colleague, Chief Ryan Borkowski from the Monroe Township Police Department. This is how serious it is for us. We are trying to find ways to give us better tools to hold parental accountability. That's one thing I've heard over and over as I talk to our residents, talk to other leaders, is this lack of parental accountability and the lack of just discipline as it went that night, complete disrespect for law and order. And so I can't thank the senator and assemblyman enough. I was on the phone with, well, the mayor was right there beside us here the entire time during the event, but I was immediately contacted by Senator Moriarty and the assemblyman within, I mean, it was a Saturday night. By Monday night, I was in touch with them. They were taking action. And us as law enforcement, that's what we need. It wasn't just lip service. And I'm quite frankly amazed that here we are less than 1 month later and we have some movement taking place, our voices being heard, them reaching out to us, and I know how serious they've taken it. Chief Borkowski and I spoke about how amazed we are and how serious these incidents are, because we don't want to let this become who we are. We want this to change. We need to have these events. These are great events. And on behalf of all the men and women of the police department, Gloucester Township Police Department, the police chiefs that I've spoke to regionally who are, lining up to back this and show the support, I want to thank the senator. I want to thank the assemblyman, because this is action. This is action to send a message that we have to do a little bit better. And we took this comprehensive approach. Again, immediately, Mayor, we met with the entire staff here and the administration, and that's where we're coming up with the improvements to our curfew on a local level. And this is what's happening on the local, county, and state level to try to address these. Not only just responding to them, we're looking for ways to prevent this and keep it safe
for our communities to have good times during these events, because that's what it's about. Nothing brings the community together more than a Gloucester Township Day or a St. Mary's Carnival. And that's where we need to get it to make it so it's safe. And we're committed to it as the police chiefs throughout this region, working in conjunction with our legislators, our mayors, and our towns, and our community to ensure that we don't let this happen again. So thank you, Senator. Thank you, Assemblyman. Thank you, Chief Gorkowski, for being here today. We really appreciate it from all the law enforcement in the region. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes. I have a question in regards to the third bill that you announced for the training for police officers. Can you explain that a little bit, Assemblyman Miller, about what that actually looks like when it comes to social media?
Sure, for the training. So this will be a directive from the AG's office. So basically what it's going to do is provide additional resources to local law enforcement. In addition, if they have multiple events within the past year in a municipality, it's going to have training for them to allow them to address some of the issues regarding crowd control and how to handle large mass gatherings.
Okay. So not really social media training, but more of the crowd control.
Yeah, more of the crowd control training. Because again, some of the departments that we're experiencing, and I know this, we experience this with law enforcement, I know there's a real struggle to fill police roles, police officer roles. So I think if we equip them, I know that if we equip them with better tools and training, that there will be a better ability to handle these types of incidences that occur.
Thank you.
What are the bill numbers?
I don't think I have the bill numbers with me right now.
Are they available online?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Well,
Are they available through the Assembly website, or do we have to search them underneath the sponsor?
we're going to get the bill numbers for you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is, what time is the
Actually,
current
I do.
curfew? Okay, yeah.
I do. I need my glasses.
4651.
Assembly Bill 4651 is one of them.
4652 and 4653.
Can we run down some of the actual particulars
Sure.
of like the penalties and whatever's outlined in there? Because I'll go through it too, but I'd rather hear the summary.
Sure. So, for the parental responsibility, it would be a $1,000 fine. The first time that the courts fined for parental responsibility, it would be a petty disorderly persons offense. Second and further findings by the courts would be a disorderly persons offense.
Is there a balance sometimes with these things, with these events, to try to keep it family oriented and police in uniforms and things like that? Is there an undercover component to this, and you know, maybe to be able to mention that and say, like, look, they're among you, and you know, this isn't going to continue?
Yeah, so it's always a challenge for us. We have these community events, and even at this event, we in the past, you know, traffic control is one of the main concerns that we have. We have crossings, and we have that set signage and whatnot, and we have juveniles that are running around having a good time, and sometimes kids are just being kids. That's not what we saw that night. And so we had more officers assigned to this event than we typically would, and with what happened on Memorial Day down the shore and just having precautions, we had significantly more numbers of officers. We had our mutual aid plan set. But we're also, our officers are used to having the interactions with kids. You know, these are community events. We are having a good time with them when we're at these events. And I don't ever want it to get to the point where I have to have civil disturbance officers in riot gear standing by for a community event. That's what these bills were trying to look and send a message to. There's always a balance. We've always had a pretty significant security plan. I know Monroe Township, during St. Mary's Carnival, the chief and I we've spoke with about how to improve and how to make the measures with the areas you had, and I've had this conversation with other chiefs throughout the region. In Downingtown, PA, I spoke with a chief who had an event. Again, every area is a little different, but they made some adjustments to their plan, and you know, bolstering the security, bolstering the check-in process. Again, in an area, it depends where the area is and how large of the event. So I don't ever want to get to the point where we can't, for us, our citizens know having the police officers around and having a bunch of them around is a good thing. We're here to interact with them, have a good time, and make sure that they're safe and can enjoy it with their families. And that's what we're trying to achieve with the introduction of these further bills.
And Chief, to tie into this too, I know that we recently had our music festival in Monroe Township, and for the most part, we didn't have any instances. However, after the event, my niece had shared with me that someone on Snapchat was sharing the possibility of a fight that was going to ensue with local high schoolers. And that's a big problem too. We can legislate, we can pass laws, we can fine kids, but parents need to know what their children are doing. They need to understand that there's consequences to their action. I don't think, me as a first responder, I don't think I would want to go to an event where we feel like it's over enforced, because there's a delicate balance of what we have to do, and that's why it's important that we work in tandem with law enforcement to determine what those protocols would be. And just to comment more specifically on the direction and the training with the AG. So the training program is going to deal with general crowd management techniques, strategies to respond to social media activity related to large-scale gatherings, best practices for coordinating and resource sharing with neighboring law enforcement agencies, which we do all the time. We do it with emergency services. Best practices for ensuring the safety of attendees. In addition to the bill, it requires the Attorney General to make the following resources available to any local or municipal police department that has participated in this training program. Mobile command units that may be deployed during a large-scale gathering, or if applicable, a flash mob, and then additional personnel support from the New Jersey State Police as needed if we've seen on social media that there's an activity and we know that something is going to happen. We don't want to be canceling events. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that sends a bad message to these bad actors that we're just going to cancel events. No, we want people to feel safe in their communities, and we want to ensure that we're providing our law enforcement and public emergency personnel with the tools and the resources that they need to handle this.
Can I ask, so if some of the problem is that you guys are talking about parents need to know where their kids are, why not have some sort of parental accompaniment responsibility for letting somebody into one of these things? You got to be with an adult. And then alternatively, are you at all concerned that some of the people who maybe are contributing to this are the ones who don't have the stable home life that would already be cracking down on some of this before they get the kids out of the house? I mean, how do you deal with some of that stuff?
I didn't understand the last part of your question.
So some of you're saying parents need to know what their kids are up to, and I'm saying that's absolutely correct. But some of the kids who are coming and doing this stuff might already be from households where parents and, guardians are not really playing the role that they should be for any number of reasons. So it's more of like the policing responsibility of the community is trying to keep up for the other social issues.
Well, there has to be consequences for people's actions. If a young person shows up here or they incite a public brawl, there has to be consequences for that. This legislation does that.
I'm not talking about consequences, I'm talking about the viability of actually getting to the root of unattended kids.
So,
okay. So, is the suggestion you do nothing because the home life is not present? All right. I mean, I think that the individual who shows up here and does not come from a situation where there is parental responsibility at home, there has to be a change to that. And this legislation seeks to change that. If the individual shows up and is adjudicated, and then the parent or the legal guardian is determined to be willfully and wantonly neglecting the responsibilities, then there is going to be culpability for that as well.
So can we talk, I want to answer part
Sure.
of that question too. So when you talk about family structure, look, I came from a single parent household. My mom was a single mom, right? I had other people in my life, my grandparents, my older brothers and sisters that I leaned a lot on. I also think it's equally important when we talk about these bills that we talk about community support organizations like the Boys and Girls Club. We need to increase access to resources for those nonprofit organizations that provide these services so they can have mentorship for maybe these children that don't have a family or a mentor or a support structure at home. So I think in tandem with local law enforcement, we can work with some of our nonprofit organizations. We will work with some of our local nonprofit organizations to ensure that children that maybe don't have that support structure at home get the resources and the mentorship that they need, so they know that these instances and these occurrences are not things that they should be doing.
I have two follow-ups.
Sure.
One for the chief. We had a release that was asking for the public's help in identifying what looked to be 3 juveniles and then 1 adult male. The adult male wanted for attempting to assault a police officer. The other 3 juveniles wanted for their role in the fight. Have you been able to find any of those suspects, or are they still outstanding?
Yeah, the last I checked, I believe we were up to 23 total arrests, including the arrests we made that night. I believe there were 3 that were unidentified out of all that we put out. Again, and that's just because of the quality of the video and some of the things. We've gotten so much help from the community. We've gotten so many tips and been able to do our part to try and hold those individuals accountable. Again, they were committing violence on each other as well as on officers and the general public here. And so we've been successful with getting those, and we'll continue to work at every way that we can to identify, just to hold those troublemakers accountable.
Okay. Is it fair to say you're still looking for those?
Yeah, I believe we still have, we're still active investigations on, I believe, 3 people that we haven't identified.
And then I have one follow-up for the mayor. What is the current curfew? Because I think that's important to mention if the fines are increasing.
Yeah, no, we're not changing the times of the curfews.
What is it?
So it is Monday through Thursday is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then Sunday to Thursday is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then Friday and Saturday is 11 to 6 a.m.
It's important to understand too, that is totally by an unaccompanied. Like if you're out with if they're out with a parent or an adult, an older brother or whatnot, that's not a violation of the curfew. Or if they're working and things like that, there's exceptions in the curfew for that. It's really to target the unsupervised running around troublemaking type of activity.
Will these kids folks that were arrested have to face the charges that you're talking about, the new legislation? Or is that kind of water under the bridge and we got to start from here?
No, I think that would be probably a violation of their constitutional rights, ex post facto laws, and maybe I'm talking outside of my ear.
How fast do you guys think you can pull this out of committee?
Well, we're voting on the budget tomorrow. We won't be going back to Trenton probably until the fall, but it's going to be a priority when we get back.
Are there any stopgaps for the summer? Because there's still 4th of July and a whole bunch of other stuff coming up.
Well, hopefully what we're doing today is going to send a deterrent effect, or have a deterrent effect on conduct. I know that towns around the region are changing their ordinances, which can be done on a more expedited basis, like Gloucester Township has done. So we have to follow the rules. It's going to take some time to create law.
Thank you.
If I heard you guys right, you said that this was like a social media thing where the kids were interacting with each other and then converging here. Do you have a means of tracking the next time there's a big event to get wind of what's going to be possibly going down?
Yeah, that's always a challenge for us because privacy rules and things like that, and we each have, those that have social media have privacy set up, but we are actively looking at how do we improve that. We already work with our partners at the New Jersey State Police. The Regional Operation Intelligence Center, which is the hub for New Jersey, already has a robust product of analysts that work. We have analysts at our level. On the county level, the Camden County Prosecutor's Office Intelligence Unit, we work together with all these agencies. We're trying to analyze to find out if there's a commonality of what they're using and how they're communicating. There's no doubt that after the fact we were aware that it happened, but trying to get ahead of it, that's a challenge for law enforcement. There's no silver bullet as to what to look at as things change and different types of platforms are used, but that is definitely, I think that's part of what the Assemblyman's bill proposal is looking to try to see, to bring some good thinkers into this and try and find out analytically what we're missing and how we can get in front of it.
By the measures you are taking with these bills, it sounds like you believe that these kids are from around the area, or there's not a concern that a lot of these kids are from outside coming in.
My position is, regardless of where these young people are coming from, we have to do something to get ahead of it. And if someone is going to incite a public brawl, this legislation is going to address that, regardless if they're from Lindenwold, Pennsauken, or Gloucester Township.
Are the number of people, we've been saying kids a lot, but of the 23 arrests, how many are juvenile, how many are of age?
I believe that there were only 3 adults, but I'd have to bring that, and they were all young adults, with the exception of the 33-year-old man that assaulted the officer, which was, very unusual even. But again, he was taking an active leadership role in inciting these young people.
If there's nothing else, thank you all for coming. This is just the first step in trying to address these types of high-tech flash mobs that are hell-bent on mayhem and mischief. And I think that this is a good first step. And as you asked how quickly we could get this done, I think the mayor can get the ordinance done a lot quicker than we can get this done in Trenton. We have a lot of people that have reached out to support this legislation from various parts of the state, so I'm very hopeful for that as well. Thank you all for coming. If anyone needs to speak individually to anyone, we'll be here for a little bit. Thanks.